DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of DETV Sports. Nick Alcindrini, Matthew Maurer, and Dennis Pritchett back for another weekly episode this week. We are back on a Tuesday. We are back on a Zoom show. We are not in studio. We should be back in studio next week, day to be determined, but we are coming at you again live from the comfort tonight of our own homes. No football or anything else on, so we're able to chat a little bit about the week and what to expect here going forward. Matthew, how you feeling back on a Tuesday?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. It's about that time of the year, man. So I'm keyed in on college football and also trying to keep track of these fighting Phils, man.
Division clinch. That's right. Red October will be here soon. Philly's going back to the playoffs. Division champions for back-to-back seasons. So you always like to see that. Also, shout out to the Delaware Blue Hens, who had their first FBS home game against an FBS opponent this past Saturday, coming in, and they were able to beat the UConn Huskies. So they were able to get their first win, as an underdog there against UConn. So a big weekend for them as well. Del State is looking pretty good too this year with Deshaun Jackson. So how about that? Delaware and Del State showing out for the first state here early in the college football season. So again, Dennis is with us. He will be coming up with your question or our question of the day later on in the show. We'll have a couple more things, and then maybe you'll hear from him if he's able to, bless us with his voice here throughout the show. Maybe he'll tune in because his Buccaneers, they got a big win last night on Monday Night Football. We got the doubleheader, and there it is. I knew we would see it at some point. He keeps that on his desktop, readily available, and there he goes. Because the Bucs, they're 2-0 ahead of that division, looking to win that division, I believe, for God, would it be 4 or 5 straight years now if they were able to do it this year. So they were in action first. Matthew, just before we dive into it, are you a fan of the doubleheader on Monday Night Football? Yesterday they tried something unique, 7 o'clock and then 10 o'clock, so a little bit earlier. Used to be a little bit later. So what do you think of the doubleheader on Monday night every now and then?
I don't mind it. I think it's.
I don't mind it either.
Yeah, I don't have the back. I heard some people say they just think it's too much football, but for me, is there such thing?
Yeah, that's right. 6 hours. I'm okay with it. I'll watch football for
Right.
6 straight hours on a Monday night. So
For
I'm cool with
sure.
it too. There you go. So let's start with game number one, the Bucs and the Texans. Texans, small favors, 2.5-point favorites at home. Of course, they are the back-to-back AFC South division champions. But of course, the last couple of years, or since CJ Stroud's rookie year, he's been up and down since that stellar performance 2 years ago. The offensive line, it was awful last year, could be even worse this year without Laramie Tunsil, who they traded to Washington in the offseason. No Tank Dell. No Joe Mixon. Nick Chubb's kind of been their back so far. And then you get the Bucs coming in, who had a very nice win in week 1 against the division rival in the Falcons. And then Baker Mayfield and company go on the road here again. It's this Texans and that fantastic, I think, defense over there in Houston. 20-19, though, the Bucs get the win here. Matthew, Dennis's team improves to 2-0. A second straight comeback victory for Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield on a huge drive late in the fourth quarter. A 4th-and-10 run was the big catalyst of that drive earlier on. They had an 8% chance to win that game on that fourth down play, or before that fourth down play. So what do you think overall here of the Bucs and the Texans? Let's start there. Biggest takeaway from last night and what the Bucs were able to do.
I mean, honestly, I keep waiting, and maybe I should stop. I keep waiting to see CJ Stroud become the player that we remember from his rookie year.
Guys.
And I'm still not seeing it. And I'm beginning to start to think I don't think I'll ever see it again. I don't know.
We getting there?
We're getting there. I mean, here's the thing. I thought maybe it was a sophomore slump. I thought, like, okay, he's getting back to the groove. This is a good year for him to get back into shape, show people what he was his rookie year. And I just still haven't seen it yet. And look, it's only a couple games of the season, so we'll see. But I mean, clearly, I'm still seeing a guy who I think at times makes, bad decisions. I think he rushes some things that he didn't do his rookie year. He's not playing as carefree. And look, maybe that's who he's going to be. I don't know. I just know that when we first saw him his rookie year, we thought, okay, Texans on the clock. They got to get this thing done, because if they don't get him around talent, by the time his rookie contract is over, they're going to have to really pay the piper, and then it might be too late to kind of try to get him into a Super Bowl. I don't know. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if CJ Stroud of the rookie year is going to come back.
Yeah, and it's funny, because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that yet, and I'm almost in the same boat. I don't know if I'm able to go that far yet, but I'm with you because last night and what we saw even going back to last season, and yeah, the offensive line is a little bit of an excuse. They've been bad, but even when he's had time, I mean, some of those throws that he made last night just had me just I mean, the one throw, and I think it was late in the second half, I think it was the fourth quarter where he just dropped back and threw it right to the defensive lineman, hit him right in his hands. And it could have been taken back for a touchdown. He couldn't believe the ball hit him there, so he dropped it. But some of the throws, I mean, he just has not looked good. A fourth down throw earlier in the first quarter when they went for it, he threw it out of the back of the end zone. Those are throws that you just can't make, especially on fourth down. Give your receiver a chance to make a play. It's fourth
Yep.
down, no harm, no foul there. He just hasn't looked good here the last 2 years. But that's funny because I asked you for your first or initial takeaway from the game, and that's what stood out to you. And I think that is a very important one. 13 of 24, 207 yards, just the one touchdown, was sacked 3 times. So the stats don't look terrible, but again,
No.
watching the game did not pass the eye test, at least to me. So they're back-to-back AFC Division South champions. Defense, again, looked good. We're able to get to Baker Mayfield for a majority of the game, kept that high-powered Buccaneers offense just to 20 points. But what do you think's the outlook then for the Texans? We'll stick with that side of the things here forward with CJ Stroud playing, not as great as maybe we think he should play. A no running game, his offensive line has been poor. But the defense, coming into the season and even on paper now is supposed to be the big bright spot, and they've got a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Is that going to be enough to keep them alive in that division, or have you been impressed kind of with what the Jaguars have been able to do? Only 1-1, haven't shown too much. But the Colts with Danny Dimes there, 2-0, they look really good. They beat the Broncos there last week. So are you nervous about the Texans' outlook on the season?
I mean, I think so. I mean, the Colts, I keep waiting for the glass slipper to break with Daniel Jones. It has not happened yet. He's continuing to play well. Jonathan Taylor is now running well. So I think the Colts might actually be a team that you're going to have to play in this division, which is kind of shocking because I thought they were throwing out the year. But clearly, if Daniel Jones is continuing to play like this, I will also say this too. If Daniel Jones continues through the season and he continues to play at this level, then the New York Giants definitely should fire every single solitary person that was in that office, because this will be the second Giants player who looks like the whole different player since leaving that organization. So they've got there's some, look, again, I don't want to blow too much into it because, I mean, look, we're only in the first early games of the season. But I did not expect this from Daniel Jones. I'd be lying if I said I did. This is clearly, he's looking like a whole different quarterback than he was in New York. Maybe it's because of the offensive line. Maybe it's because of the play calling. I do think he's also a quarterback that really works well, or seems to be working right now, with Shane Steichen. So, look, I think right now, I think if you're the Colts, you're looking at what you have with Daniel Jones, and I think you got to be excited, at least on some level. And more important than that, Tyler Warren continues to show that he was a brilliant pick for them.
Yeah, he's looked really good. Again, I'll ask you this quickly. Colts or Texans, who wins the division here if I were to ask you after 2 weeks? Or do you like the Jaguars, the Titans? I mean, it's up to you, but
I'm going to go with the Jags. I think
the Jags coming. Okay, 1-1. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Jags got a little something to prove. I think we're seeing some good play out of Trevor Lawrence. I think he's heard the names. I think he's heard the whispers. I think he's starting to make some really good, took a step forward this year. So yeah, I think this is a redeeming year for the Jags. I think they can get out. I think they can. They made some moves, so I expect them to be the team to beat in this division.
Yeah, I don't hate on that. You might want to make your way over to Delaware Park, make good odds there, Matthew. Again, give some advice to everybody out there here. I'm going to stick with the Texans. The 0-2 doesn't scare me too much just because of how much I believe in that defense. I think the offense will be good enough going forward with Stroud, Nico Collins, and a couple others, playmakers maybe down the stretch. We'll see. But I think the defense can be the major part of that. They're going to have to win those divisional games now, though, against the Jaguars, against the Colts here. They do have that division champion schedule that we talk about, so a little bit tougher road than some of those other teams that have much weaker schedules in their divisions. So they're going to have to play up for it, but 2 tough games to start the season, the Bucs and the Rams, 2 teams I think that are big time contenders in the NFC. So again, tough start for them, but I think they'll be able to pick it up. So I'll stick with them as it is right now. Now let's flip side now to the NFC. The team that won last night that improved the 2-0. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They can do, prove they can win in different ways. Defense, of course, looked pretty good there against Houston. Houston, not good news on Kancey though today. He's out for the season with a pectoral muscle injury defensively. So that's a big loss for them defensively. Bucky Irving, 17 carries, 71 yards. Rashad White looked good in his limited usage last night. He had 10 carries. Bucky had over 20 touches, 120 yards, total offense in that game. But
Right.
Baker Mayfield once again doing it down the stretch. The rookie Emeka Egbuka, another big impact there. So thoughts on the Buccaneers? I know the Falcons looked pretty good in that win on Sunday night against JJ McCarthy and the Vikings. We'll get to that here a little bit later on in the show. But thoughts on Baker Mayfield and the Bucks? Is this their division for, I believe, whatever time it is for that many times in a row, Dennis? I know maybe 5 straight times.
Well, I'll tell you this about the Bucks. They've got sneakily some really good pieces throughout the course of the past couple seasons. I mean, they have Rashard White, they have Bucky Irvin, they have now, I think, a really good core with Mbuka, Evans. They've got the weaponry to do some things, and now they have Baker Mayfield, who they found, who Cleveland discarded. Now he's totally changed his career. So if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm very happy. I love what I'm seeing. I don't think defense hasn't been as great as I thought they were going to be this year. But again, a couple games in the season, they haven't been terrible. They just haven't been as tough as I thought they were going to be in the beginning of the year. But I wouldn't be worried. If I'm the Bucks fan, though, I'm extremely happy.
Yeah, they look good so far. And again, with that offense, they'll get Chris Godwin back here in a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. And then that offense is going to continue to get better. Tristan Wirfs coming back. So again, if the
Right.
defense continues to get a little bit better each and every day as well, they're going to be tough. Again, I was though very impressed with what the Falcons did on Sunday night. That defense to me coming in,
Yep.
not a lot of, I guess, expectation for that, but they've got some young rookies there that we know in Bowman and the defensive end Walker out of Georgia, who's looked pretty good so far. They got a 60% pressure rate so far through 2 games. Atlanta does, switching topics here for just a moment. They haven't had that high of a pressure rate in over 10 years. Again, they've had no pass rush. It's been non-existent for a majority, of the recent NFL memory for Atlanta. So that looks good too. I think that's going to be a fun battle in the division, going forward. I wouldn't worry about the Saints or the Panthers, though. I know a lot of that Bryce Young hype has died down pretty quickly here through 2 weeks of this NFL season. So now let's jump there for Monday Night Football. We'll stick with now the second half game here quickly. The Raiders and the Chargers. Geno Smith not looking good in his second game after coming off the win against the Patriots in week number 1, 20-9. Justin Herbert and the Chargers improved to 2-0. They continue to look like one of the most impressive teams in the NFL through the first couple weeks. Geno Smith, of course, if you looked at the stats, 24-43, a buck 80, 3 interceptions, was also sacked 3 times in this game. We talked about having a bad offensive line in Houston. Well, that is also the case in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Not a great situation for there as well. But of course, the Chargers get a win here in the division. 2-0 now for Justin Herbert, who has looked like a top 3 MVP candidate through again just 2 weeks here in the NFL. But what are your thoughts on the Chargers after 2 weeks? And is this the year they win that division now that the Chiefs, who we'll talk about here in a moment, have fallen to 0-2? The Bucks 1-1. Chargers now solely in that division out there.
No, I still think it's the Chiefs' division to have. I think that they played really well against the Philadelphia Eagles they had a couple mistakes. I think if those mistakes go the other way, I think they walk out with a W against Philadelphia. So I still think they're still the team to beat. I will say probably Chargers are probably the second team to beat. If I'm the Raiders, though, I got to be honest with you, and again, we're only 2 games into the season, so I guess we can kind of hold off on some things, but in other things, just from what we're looking at when we look at players play, Ashton Genty is a guy at this point. I don't know if he's the guy they thought they were getting when they took him.
Oh, so we're gonna again. We love some of your. I don't know if that's considered. I guess it would be a hot take as it is right now. But again, just 2 weeks in, what have you noticed there? And you said you're worried already.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a very efficient runner right now. I mean, he was coming out of Boise State. He was a power runner. created yards after contact, was I think he was the leader in the country of
Yeah.
yards after contact.
Mm-hmm.
Physical back, create space with just his bruising running style. I think he's finding that the NFL is a little bit more difficult to get that separation from, as everybody knows. Granted, the Raiders' offensive line is not spectacular, but I will say he has not been running with the same, I guess you could say, same intensity that he ran with at Boise State. And I don't know if that's just a sign of the fact that he's on a team that doesn't have a great offensive line, or if that's a sign of maybe his production was more of a college production and not necessarily one that's going to translate into the pros. We see this all the time. He won't be the first guy to have this happen to him, won't be the last guy. So again, this happens. And again, I know some people might say, well, you're 2 games in the season, let's give him a chance. For sure. But when I've watched first round running backs, typically they fly off the page pretty fast. And you pretty much know with running backs, because the skills are very translatable if you think about it. It's less about technique for a lot of these running backs. It's more about what they've been doing. They've been doing this for 3 to 4 seasons. I mean, you name the first round running backs, a lot of them took off and did pretty well with coming right out of the gate. I mean, Saquon Barkley, everybody knew he was good. Leonard Fournette, everybody knew he was good. Christian McCaffrey, everybody knew he was good. There's a lot of first round backs that we've seen come out the gates that have just have been solid. I don't know if Ashton Genty is of that cut of those guys I just named. And, you know, that was not what the scouting report and what I think the Raiders thought they were getting when they took him.
Yeah, and Bijan Robinson, to your point, in the same thing, and even more
sure.
to your point, those are all running backs that were not even the first round, but also top 10 picks, which Ashton Genty, was a top 10 pick at running back. Those guys, usually, like you said, have big rookie seasons, or if you want to even put it into a fantasy football perspective, finishes top 5 or 10 backs in that regard, which shows you how successful of a season they typically have. But again, to play devil's advocate, the Raiders' offensive line is atrocious. But again, we had our mock draft show, et cetera, a few weeks ago. Did say, I said, I don't know if I touch him that early. We didn't draft him there. So we'll see. It's going to be tough just with that offense. Again, the team's still not great. So it's hard with no offensive line. The team's not great. Plus, the game script's going to be negative a lot of the time for him. They're going to be down, I believe, early, especially if Geno continues to play like he did, last night. Now, just looking here at the odds in front of me, it is now right here, Matthew. The Chargers are now the favorites to win the AFC West at plus 100. So the Chiefs plus 225, Broncos plus 350, and the Raiders way down at plus 1500. So as it stands today on September 16th, week after week 2 of the NFL season, the Chargers are the favorite to win the AFC West.
Wow. I mean, hey, I like it. I mean, again, me and you've talked about Justin Herbert's talent. I love the fact that maybe this is the year where he puts it all together and can back people like me and you who have been championing Justin Herbert's talent for a couple seasons now. So I would love for him to come out and be this guy. But I will say again, I think the problem with the Kansas City Chiefs, we're seeing some execution fails, not necessarily talent fails. We're seeing execution fails. And I think if the Chiefs continue to have these fails, then obviously Chargers all the way. I just really think at the end of the day, as the Chiefs go through and they cut some of the fat and they start to figure things out. I mean, this kind of happened with them. If you may remember a couple years ago when they started to figure out that they needed to start to get Jarrett McKinnon the ball, the running back that they had. They used him in a lot of screen plays. And really, this is what the Chiefs do. It takes them a couple games to really start getting things together, figuring out where the strengths and weaknesses are, because each year the personnel changes. And obviously, I think Andy Reid, as smart as he is, I think he'll figure something out. And again, I will say this, though, and this is probably the biggest X factor for if the Chiefs fail. Travis Kelce is not looking like Travis Kelce. He definitely has lost a step. I say that respectfully because I think he's a Hall of Famer at the end of the day. He's one of the best tight ends of his generation, easily a Hall of Famer when he's done playing. But I will say this: he's looking very old, and I say that respectfully. He's looking very seasoned. He's not aging the way that we saw with Tony Gonzalez. He's kind of become more of a player who I think Patrick Mahomes can't rely on as much as he did in the past. I think Patrick Mahomes, to be honest, I think Pat Mahomes is going to have to start figuring out who he can have more faith with catching some of those balls, making some of those plays, because I don't know if he can count on Kelsey the way he used to in the past.
Yeah, and again, the running game for them has been non-existent. Isaiah Pacheco hasn't looked the same since that broken
Yeah.
fibula a year and a half ago. They can't get the running game going. Offensive line hasn't been terrible. No weapons though. No Xavier Worthy. No Rashee Rice. They lose Justin Watson, who's now at the Texans there in free agency. Just Hollywood Brown's going to have to step up. They're going to have to get some other guys there to make some plays. And then again, Xavier Worthy, hopefully they'll get him back next week or the week after. Rashee Rice not going to get him back for at least another 6 weeks. And then, of course, you have to get him back up to game speed and game shape and all that stuff. But I'm with you. I would actually take the Chiefs to win that division too come the end of the season. So that's where I'd go there. And now to speak about the team that handed them their second loss of this season last night, that was, or on Sunday when the game of the week was the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you watch the game, it wasn't a great watch, right? That game was a pretty ugly one. If you were able to make it all the way through. But, the big talk of not only in our area, Matthew, but even across the country now since that game was the Eagles' lack of explosiveness on offense, scoring points, et cetera, et cetera. Here they are 2-0. And I, not Jalen Hurts' number one fan, and I wouldn't consider, though, a hater here as of recently. Even I think you might have evolved from that point here over the last year and a half or 2 years. But how worried are you about the Eagles' offense? Are you, in your opinion, as they are constructed right now, what they've shown you through 2 weeks, are they legit Super Bowl contenders?
Oh, definitely. I still have them pick to win the Super Bowl. I
There you
still
go.
think,
So you're a smart man, Matthew.
I think defensively, I think they still have pieces. I think they will eventually figure out the offense. But I will say something that I think has rubbed people the wrong way. And look, I'm all for it. At the end of the day, the reason why there is so much pushback about Jalen Hurts being considered a top 5 QB, we're just going to be truthful here, is because he is kind of this era's Phil Simms. He is a guy who plays on a great team with tremendous defense, has occasionally really good games, but I don't know if we ever considered Phil Simms on the level of some of the elite quarterbacks of his era. And again, the easy conversation for people to have is to talk about, well, he's winning. Well, Trent Dilfer won. Brad Johnson won. We don't yell at those names as all-time elite quarterback talents. Same thing with Eli Manning. He won twice. I've never heard anybody consider Eli Manning to be cut on the same cloth as Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So people have to really they really have to make up their mind what they're really saying about Jalen Hurts. And I know some people may find that me saying Phil Simms is a disrespectful take, which shows how stupid they are. The Giants won Super Bowls with Phil Simms. At the end of the day, he walked around with titles, and he gets the cachet. His son, who was respectfully, his son who flamed out as a top recruit, went to Texas and flamed out there too, got drafted because of his father, and now has a job in breaking down NFL film and everything else for, I think it's pro football.
Yeah.
So, it's not a knock to be considered a guy that reminds me of Phil Simms. I've never considered Phil Simms a bum. I've never considered Phil Simms to be not good, but I don't consider, if somebody says to me, who are the best quarterbacks from the 80s, Phil Simms ain't a top 5 guy that's coming off my mouth. So again, people got to get it together. No one is disrespecting Jalen Hurts and saying he's trash or not good. I think what the conversation is being had is he's got 101 yards this game. Now, again, people are going to say, well, look what he did in the Super Bowl. Well, that's great, bro. If you watch the Super Bowl the way that I'm sure the Philly fans did, then you know that defense was really geared to stop Saquon Barkley. So the throws that he made and the plays that he made were, well, let's just call it, I'm not going to say they were easy plays, but really, if we're being honest, the defense was daring him to throw, for being honest. And I think anybody who watches that tape, I don't know how you would argue that wasn't the case. But needless to say, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, Jalen Hurts has a title. He's got paid. He's got more money than most of us will make in a lifetime of just one season. So, I think life is good with Jalen Hurts. I think that they're going to return to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win a Super Bowl. And I think as long as he can continue to have the overrated play of the tush push, which is illegal and should be lawed out. But hey, listen, man,
Had
he's
to
going
get
to
a
be
little
fine.
hate in there. Had to get a little hate in
Had
there.
to get a little hate in there. Had to get a little bit. But again, let me just say this one more time. It's not a disrespect for me to say that he's the Phil Simms of this era. Phil Simms got a lot of titles. Phil Simms got a lot of cachet, and Phil Simms is not a guy he's not like, I don't know, Billy Joe Tolbert. Like, people got to make up their mind, bro. Like, come on, man.
And again, like we said, lack of explosives, they know how to win. That's a skill in itself. I'm with you, Matthew. I agree. I don't really have much to add, right? I think they'll be back in the Super Bowl. I think they have a good chance to go back to back. That will come. The offense will come. So again, not too worried about them going forward. So again, how likely before we go on Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl rematch? What do you think about that?
No, I don't think the Chiefs get back there this
So
year.
yeah, that's where a lot of people are right now. A lot of people feel the same way. Think, and again, just speaking widely here, Buffalo Bills or Ravens. What are you going with one of those two in the AFC?
I think it's Buffalo's chance
Here we
to get
go.
it
Again,
going.
we'll talk about that a little bit later. But another team that won't have a chance now, potentially in the AFC, is the Joe Burrow list now.
Oh,
Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, turf toe, announced today he will be having surgery, so he'll be going on IR. Already placed on injury reserve at least 4 weeks, but it's obviously they're acting like 3 months is going to be the timeline here for Joe Burrow. And we woke up this morning with a lot of Andrew Luck comparisons being going on, especially with how bad the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line has been throughout Joe Burrow's career. Another
mhm.
injury, another almost lost season for the quarterback in Cincinnati. Are you worried about him, from a career standpoint now? Could he be the next Andrew Luck?
I've been worried about Burrow for about 2 seasons now because, again, and I don't know what it is with these NFL scouts. I don't know if they think they can fix things through free agency. I don't really understand it myself. But anybody who's watched and studies how the NFL puts together offensive lines, they get a lot of that from the draft. Usually get one or two pieces tops on through free agency, but for the most part, the other three guys are usually developed in house, right? I think that's the reason why if you look at some of the best offensive lines in football, most of those guys are being drafted. The Eagles are a primary example. The Lions are another example. They draft them, they cultivate them, and then if they have to get a piece or two, they get it through free agency, and then they get those guys. For some reason, Cincinnati has, and look, I get it. You have problems on the defensive side. Defense is actually playing somewhat competent this year, so hats off to them. But again, this offensive line issue, you don't have a quarterback that's highly mobile in Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, pretty much where he plants his foot, he's throwing it. He is not a guy that extends a lot of time in the pocket. He doesn't roam around. He's not what I would call, shouting out the NFL, college football 2026 guys. He's not a backfield creator. He's more of a pocket passer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have a pocket passer, you have to make sure you go out and you get the necessary tools for them to succeed. And the necessary tools are you get him a competent O-line. He has to have it at this point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens and how they go about doing that again. And this is, I would have made the same decision they did way back when, but kind of shows you their mindset is again taking Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell from the Detroit Lions. But again, looking back
Mm-hmm.
on it, I would have done the same thing. They probably would do it over
Sure.
again. But again, they kind of had that mentality over the years. Since having Joe Burrow, again, they chose to pay T. Higgins, they chose to pay Jamar Chase, etc. Trey Henderson, a 1-year deal. Again, nothing really addressing that offensive line. Since they got Orlando Brown a few years ago. But again, they are brutal. And 3 months from now, we'll see if he can come back. A turf toe injury is rare for a quarterback, especially. So we'll see what happens with this in about 3 months. I mean, there's a chance he comes back and nothing, maybe doesn't go to plan and he doesn't. We don't see him the rest of the year. So we'll see how it goes in Cincinnati. Could be another lost season.
For sure. And this is my fear about taking Chase Brown in fantasy drafts because
I did
that
it.
O line plagued Joe Mixon's career in Cincinnati as well. He was averaging a Melvin Gordonish, 3.4 yards per carry, and I think Brown was this past game. I think he had like 2.8 or something like that. It was nasty.
Yeah, I'm worried about him now. At least, Joe Burrow used to pepper him with little targets here in the backfield to get a lot of those PPR receptions there. We'll see if Jake Browning can do the same. And when Browning has come in, has not been bad in his
No.
career with Cincinnati. But obviously no Joe Burrow, so everything going to take a hit there. But maybe again, I kind of had the Bengals not really as a true contender in that division anyway this year, but maybe it's the Ravens walking away now going forward. We'll see how easy it is for them to wrap up things, there. 2 minute here as we go. We talked about Danny Dimes and the Colts taking down the Broncos. Falcons get that win on Sunday Night Football with J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy now out at least, I believe, 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury.
Yep.
Also, he's played about 8 quarters here through 2 games, has looked bad in about 7 of them. And now
Yep.
for the Vikings, they are going to turn to Carson Wentz. This is now their backup. So he's going to be the starter in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell.
Okay.
Again, tough break for the Vikings there, huh?
Yeah, but I thought JJ McCarthy was a risk when they took him. I mean, you're talking about you took a quarterback that played on the offense at Michigan that threw the ball maybe 10 times a game. I mean, it's a risk. I mean, at the end of the day, it just is. And people can try to take away whatever they want about JJ McCarthy. I wish the kid nothing but success, and I hope he does well. But at the end of the day, it was a risk with Minnesota. I think Minnesota's gotten a little too comfortable. I think they believe they're the quarterback whisperer, the way that, the Philadelphia Eagles have a whisperer at that O-line. I think for some reason they think they can just take any quarterback and
So
they can just sprinkle some dust on them and then make them into a Pro Bowler. I think they're going to find out that that's not the case.
Let me ask you this now, though, and I thought of this
Mm-hmm.
immediately when the news came out yesterday. Kirk Cousins back up in Atlanta. The Vikings, they need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins go
Yep.
back home there to Minnesota there. What do you think about that?
It makes sense for
Right?
Minnesota.
I think
It makes
so.
sense for them. I would definitely do it.
Yeah, if I'm Atlanta, get something back in return for him. I would take that as well there for again McCarthy going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see what they decide to do. I just have a hard time believing Carson Wentz is going to start the next 3 to 4 games for the Minnesota Vikings. So maybe I'm wrong and maybe he does there. Lions, they got back on track, demolishing the Bears 52-21. Their former owner, Miss Ford, turned 100 today. So
Woo.
just a little fact there. They gave her the game ball yesterday. 100
Happy
years old
birthday.
today. 52-21. Ben Johnson doesn't get, you want to say revenge, but the Lions get revenge on him, I guess, for leaving. We had this discussion after week 1. Packers, who
Mm-hmm.
looked good again in week 2, they beat the Lions, and then the Lions, who looked bad in week 1, they look like themselves here in
They
week
did.
number 2. We kind of said not to worry about them, too much talent, them offensively for that to happen again. It did not. But does that go to show you how good maybe the Packers are again after they come off away against the Commanders on Thursday night as well? Is that again, Lions looked awful against them and they pound the Bears or
I
Sunday.
think that I think the Packers defense showed how good they are. Offensively, I think they're pretty close. I mean, Jared Goff, the book on him is if you can rush him, you can cause some problems for him. The Bears didn't really had no ability to speed him up. He was out there taking his time. He got plays off with JMO. JMO, was electric in that game. St. Brown was unguardable. So he really had the production and the time to make plays happen. So, hats off to Jared Goff for the rebound game. Again, I will say this is why I was not buying into the hype with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams looks like every other Bears QB, and I say that respectfully. He looks like he's okay. Again, he's not a guy that I'm saying is terrible. I just don't know if he's going to be able to live up to that standard that I think a lot of Bears fans want him to be, which is the greatest quarterback of their franchise. And that may seem like rich words, but if you look at that quarterback, history of the Chicago Bears, I mean, Rex Grossman is in the top 10. So he doesn't have that much far to climb to get into that discussion. But again, Caleb, he looks like he's struggling with certain things. He's to me, I don't know. Sometimes it looks like the game is a little too fast for him. It looks he's still trying to process things. The decision making is a little wonky at times, but I still see him making really talented throws. So I mean, that's one thing you hang your hat up on them. And I still think the Bears have a lot of weapons, at least at the wide out and the tight end position. So look, I hope I hope he gets himself together and proceeds to have a really good season. But I just know for just right now what we're seeing, he has not been, I think, what we would say is the number one pick where he was picked.
And again, whole new offense. They're going to have to reprogram him, if you will. So I do patience here. We'll see how he looks. But again, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are expecting things a little too fast for him initially, even with people hear Ben Johnson and they expect immediate results. Excuse me, going to take a little bit of time there for him. So again, the Bears, they may have one of the worst defenses in the league. I know dealing
For
with
sure.
injuries, but so this is not going to be, I think, a good season for Chicago. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how it goes. A few bright spots there offensively, one of them being Rome Odunze, who's looked really good here through 2 weeks. Quickly here, we got to talk about the Giants and the Cowboys just because I feel like we have a sports show and that's what you have to do when the Cowboys play on Sundays. It still has a good game though, if you happen to catch it. Cowboys 40-37 in overtime. Aubrey drills the game winner there. Cowboys defense not looking good without Micah Parsons here through the first 2 weeks, though. Then again, it hasn't looked great with him, even dating back to last year. But the Cowboys get a victory. Giants fall to 0-2. Thoughts? Does it mean anything?
It doesn't mean anything to me. And as a matter of fact, I got to be honest with you. The fact that the Cowboys needed all these heroics to beat the Giants is nasty work. Just nasty.
And again, I talked about it coming in. I expected that offense to be good this year, with Dak, Pickens, et cetera. Offensive line still pretty good, but I didn't expect the defense to be this bad. So who knows how they're going to be, if they'll be a playoff team or not, but they're going to have to figure something out defensively going forward. But 1-1 after the 40-37 shootout victory over the New York Giants. There quickly again running through some of the scores. Again, the Bengals did improve to 2-0 without Burrow there at to finish that game. They get a win over the Jaguars. Rams beat the Titans and Cam Ward. Rams improved to 2-0. Big matchup between the Eagles and the Rams coming up this Sunday. Patriots get their first win of the season. They took down the Dolphins 0-2. Dolphins looked a little bit better, especially offensively, but that defense, talk about them and the Bears might be battling out for worst defense in the league.
Yo, can we just say one thing about this? The Dolphins.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, man. Look, Tua sucks.
Tua sucks now. He's coming off a 5-year max contract.
I understand that, but he sucks. He ain't that guy, man. He's not that guy. I hate to even paint the narrative, but he ain't that guy, bro. I mean, he's got Jalen Waddle, he's got Tyreek Hill, and he struggles at times to get the ball to them. Man, listen, their offensive line ain't that bad.
I don't know.
Look, again,
you're right. Not bad enough. I'll give it's not bad enough.
It's not like Cincinnati. It's this is a little bit more respectable. I'm not gonna say it's much more, but it's a little bit more respectable than that. Just at the end of the day, we saw what Burrow has done with the bad offensive line. Dude, Tua, he struggles to even be mediocre. I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, man. I just gotta be honest with you. It's a bad deal for them. I feel sorry for Miami. I really do. I feel sorry for the Dolphin fans.
Again, I mean, he looks like 2 years ago, at least he led the NFL in completion percentage. Then he signed that big max contract. I mean, I don't think we were fans of him then. I think we talked about, would you give him the money then? We both said no, but a lot of people around the league said yes. And just because of what they had the year before, quarterbacks don't grow on trees, all those different things that people say. So they gave him that 5-year. They gave him all the money that he wanted, even with the concussions, with the injuries. And again, this year, he hasn't even looked even as good as he looked then. And I didn't think he was great then. So it's been a tough go around here so far through 2 weeks, though. Again, I don't think it will get too much worse. I do think they'll get into more of a rhythm offensively, but I don't think they're going to be a good team solely because of the defense anyway. Again, offensive line isn't good either. So I don't think much of it, but I think Tyreek Hill could be traded here maybe in the next couple of weeks, depending on what they do next week. Already 0-2, they start to go 0-3, 0-4. They might be getting some phone calls. It might be sending him somewhere like Kansas City, who could really use a wide receiver with all the injuries and suspensions that they've got going on over there with the Chiefs. So we'll see what happens. But the Patriots, they get their first win under Mike Vrabel for the season, so they get to win there. 49ers get a win with Mac Jones. No Brock Purdy needed. No, a couple other guys injured as well. But congratulations, able to take down Spencer Rattler and the Saints, though the game was in the Superdome there. So the Niners, they win and they cover. So good job there for San Fran. Your thoughts on the Niners, or do you not take too much of this early season stuff without a lot of those guys?
I don't take too much of the early season stuff, but I will say this. I was impressed with how Spencer Rattler was playing. He was gaming out there. He was giving it his best shot. I mean, he looked good out
Competent,
there.
right? It was competent
He
quarterback
was
play.
definitely competent. Yeah, I mean, he extended plays.
Oh, and our first,
Oh
it took till this point of the show to get our first word from Dennis, and it's all because we said Spencer Rattler was competent.
man, I give him a little love. He's all right.
Bills and Jets, not much to take from in that one, 30-10. Bills get the victory on the road. Justin Fields, though, injured with has the concussion injury. A lot of quarterback
Yeah,
injuries
man.
this week. Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Justin Fields, no Brock Purdy. Obviously, I'm missing another Joe Burrow. So just something to pay attention to there going forward. And then the Ravens blow out the Browns. Not a lot really to talk about there as well. So Thursday night football coming up this weekend. It'll be we will not see each other obviously or have a show before then. Dolphins and the Bills. Not a great matchup this weekend for Thursday night after we get Packers Commanders last week. You gonna be watching?
I am.
Of course, we always do anyway. We always will be watching.
And I'm
The
picking
games.
the Dolphins. I'm joking.
To cover, you're gonna give them 12 points? 12 and a half?
Yeah, they'll cover.
Taking the
They'll cover.
points. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bills and Dolphins always a tough game in the division.
it is.
Yeah. I don't know. Get the Bills coming off that big win in the past. Dolphins have been bad. This one's on the road. I don't know. I'll go with the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Bills. Anyway, why not? Dennis, who you got? Anybody?
Yep, I agree.
It's funny because that's right. I will be in Miami for Delaware at FIU this weekend. This game will be in Buffalo. Otherwise, I have to check that one out on Sunday.
Look at this
Dennis,
guy.
tennis question of the day. What do you think? What do we got? Which team's week 2 win told you the most about their Super Bowl chances? I like that one. Which team, and again, doesn't mean that you think they're your Super Bowl favorite, but which win meant more to you this week? You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
No, you good. You good.
All right, you know what? It's a game we talked about. And again, not saying they're my favorite. I'm going to give you 2 teams here that I think had important wins this week. One was the Lions. For them to get back on track, 52-21. Offense looked like it did last year. The star power was there. Amon-Ra, even Montgomery was eating again this week. Gibbs looked really good. Offensive line good. Even Captain Mid himself, Jared Goff, looked above mid-level play. Defense
Baby.
defense was healthy. They looked fine, losing both coordinators. So I think that was a meaningful one because that means things to me that they still can compete, in the NFC and for a Super Bowl championship. And then on a lesser degree, I'm going to go to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I think the Texans have a very good defense. I think they are a good team. They were at home last night, even though they were 0-2, and the Buccaneers able to come back, a big fourth quarter comeback victory. So once again, I'm in on the Buccaneers in that division. I think they can kind of compete in the NFC as well. So I think those 2 teams have big wins in meaningful games in the NFC.
I'm gonna follow that up because that's pretty succinct to what I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna piggyback pretty much on everything you said there. I don't really have any pushback against any of that.
And again, if we're going to maybe turn this question over and go to the other side, which kind of losses, deflated you a little bit. I'm going to go Minnesota. Just the way they looked. McCarthy looked once again bad. You were maybe thinking him to get that momentum out of that fourth quarter to finish game 1. Defense gave up some points to the Falcons at home. So my outlook on Minnesota here the rest of the way is a little dampened, especially with that quarterback situation. So if we were just to go in a different direction there, that's where I would go.
Yeah, mine is Texans and the Dolphins. I'm just disappointed with
Texans
both.
also, yeah.
But look, I think the Texans have the talent to rewrite the ship, but I don't believe that the Dolphins do.
Yeah, can't disagree there. Now let's get our trivia question of the night, brought to you by Dennis, coming off a victory for us last week. I believe we are down 1, though Dennis may be cheating us. We don't have official scorecards yet. So as of right now, hypothetically, we assume we are down maybe 1. Dennis, what do we have for trivia question today?
What is it? Which NFL team is the only one to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different starting quarterbacks?
Okay, I like that one. All righty. So let's initially think, you would think Pittsburgh has a lot of Super Bowls, but no, they're just Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger, I believe, with all of their wins.
I'm going Washington Redskins.
Washington Redskins for Matt. So again, when you think Cowboys, right? The Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman. Am I missing one in there? I'm not. And again, you have to be a team to have won 3 Super Bowls. The 49ers, what do we got? Joe Montana, Steve Young. Do they have a third quarterback in there? No. So again, teams that have at least have won 3 Super Bowls as well. So something to think about. Here going through Jen, looking at teams.
Because I'm going through Redskins. Redskins have what? They have Rippon. They have Doug Williams.
That's right, though. Yeah.
And didn't Theismann get the one?
I don't know. The injury.
Am I tripping?
And obviously the Chiefs have 2 different quarterbacks there.
Packers have 2. No, Packers have 3.
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and
what's the guy's name from Alabama? Bart Starr.
Bart Starr. There we go. All right, let's go with the Packers then. We're going with the Packers.
Packers.
Oh, what's funny?
Don't you say it. Don't you say it, bro.
Don't say it's the Redskins. Don't say it's the Redskins. We'll sign off immediately if it's the Redskins. Because we could have. So, okay. So we got 2. We get that. We get that one. That's one for us. We'll take it.
It was Joe Theismann. Okay, I was okay.
Because we get one to get. We got to guess each anyway. So it worked out there. 2 back-to-back weeks, Dennis.
See, this is I'm out thinking myself. I knew I should have just stayed. I should have said it with my chest out.
Yes. Hey, you've been pretty good with your initial answers. I will say your gut has been good. We are now on a little bit of a roll here. Dennis got to get back to the drawing board for next week and figure something out because that's crazy.
That one was already hard, man. We should get 2 points for that one. We should get 2 points for this one because you missed out on the other one.
And again, if everybody at home watching, if you like Tuesdays a little bit better, I know we get on the air Mondays right before kickoff of Monday Night Football. Maybe we'll make the switch here to Tuesdays, if that's a little bit more convenient for everybody. But we are wrapping up here on a Tuesday night Zoom. We will be back in studio next week. So make sure you pay attention to that. We'll recap week 3, get you some fantasy football advice as well, heading into what would be week 4 also. So Matthew, what do you got here as we close out on a Tuesday night? Anything been on your mind this week?
Yeah, so Ryan Clark, you gotta stop. You gotta stop, bro. Like I like you. You're one of the guys that I like. I cheer for you. I listen to the pivot. I respect what you say. Look, here's the thing. That shot you took at Peter Strager, and look, I'm not even saying Peter Strager is a guy that you should respect. I get it. Maybe you don't feel like he's put in enough work. But when you make comments like that, and then you let other people off the hook who haven't played the game, and I'm not just talking about Stephen A. Smith, I'm talking about Mina Kimes, people that have been blatantly wrong in front of you about the game of football, calling certain defensive formations that weren't those defensive formations. You've been very forgiving. So I don't know if there's something there between you and Peter that you just wanted to point out in the moment. But let me just say this. As somebody who never played the game at the professional level, I've never played professional football. But I will tell you this. As much work as you put into your body to get to the NFL, some of us put that much work into our brain to understand the game. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. So, for example, I have the draft review. I'm the only NBA draft historian in the world. I chronicled every single player that's ever been drafted since 1950. And actually, no, let me rephrase that. Since 1947, because I actually went back and I've now done the 3 years prior to the NBA merger. So it's 1947 to present day, every single player. So while I can't comment on Peter Strager's acumen and what he's done in his past to be able to be up there and talk, I will say this. Sometimes in the game of life, you have to be a good quarterback. You have to be a good teammate. And sometimes when you know that your teammate is maybe not as great as you are, sometimes you got to lift them up and help them get over the hill and so that you guys can win collectively. At the end of the day, I don't think you were a good teammate in that moment. I think you made sure that you punched down on somebody that that they had no rebuttal to argue against you. There was nothing that Peter Strager could have said that would have won that fight and won that conversation. Even if Peter Strager went the ultimate nerd route and asked you, did you do journalism? It wouldn't matter. You knew this, and you took that chance to get that win. And at the end of the day, I'm not even saying that I disagreed with what you guys were saying. I think you guys were saying the right. It was actually about Dallas and Philadelphia, that you were saying that AJ Brown did not have a good game, but Peter Strager was saying that CeeDee Lamb had a more impactful game, and you said that you felt that AJ Brown won the game, and that's the difference between a player and a person who hasn't played the game. At the end of the day, my man, that was not no brilliant insight that when you said that. Everybody can read that box score and see the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Cowboys. That was not a mic drop like you thought it was, my man. And as somebody who I greatly respect, as somebody who I have a lot of admiration for, not only the man you are, but also for what you do with this game, I'm just going to be honest. You left me a little disappointed, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you there on that one for sure. And a lot of people, coming out and talking about that, and they seem to have moved on over there on ESPN. So we'll see. We'll see them doing some segments together here, I'm sure. Going
and speaking of ESPN, I'm so excited. I can finally watch First Take again. Molly Quirm is leaving ESPN. Man, I'm about to throw a party, bro.
We're gonna have to get into this on an older episode. I didn't know you were not that big a fan of Molly, and again, we are First Take fans. We've had that shot in our studio. Stephen A has been over, multiple times. We've had a chance to hang out with him. So that's what you're coming out and saying. We're gonna have to unpack all of that here at a different date. But initially, what's going on there?
She's the host. Ain't no one coming to see you, Otis. I ain't trying to hear what you got to say, Molly. Look, you want to tell me about Revlon Maybelline nails? Maybe if I was Caleb Williams, I'd listen to you. But I don't want to hear what you got to say about football players. I just don't. Like, it ain't about the fact that she's just a host. It's about the fact that she says stuff that ain't intelligent and doesn't have any real articulation to what everybody else is talking about. So, like, it could be Doris Burke. It could be other people that are in that. I think Malika Andrews asked really good questions. I don't like her politics off the network, but I give Malika Andrews tons of credit. She's at least a credit to when she hosts shows. Molly Quirm, other than the fact that she's a decent-looking young lady, I don't think she really adds much to the show. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, according to Matthew, there you go. ESPN back into Matthew.
Give us Joy Taylor.
Back.
Peanut butter skin. That's what we want.
There you go.
Isn't that what Whitlock called her? He said she got peanut butter skin. Of course, Jason Whitlock would equate her to food, but whatever.
That's why you stick around to the end of the show, everyone. That's why you stick around to catch stuff like that. We'll be back again next week. Thanks for tuning in on a Tuesday. For Matthew Dennis and myself, we'll see you next week.